let's start again. Now, welcome to the Immersive Arts Melbourne Twitch stream. Immersive Arts Melbourne is a group of people who run LARPs and help people run LARPs and talk about LARPs. We are the people responsible for Black Powder and Bloodlines and for Zeppelin games and part of Watches of East Haven and a bunch of other stuff because we're fantastic. I'm streaming here. My name's Josephine. At Dance of Ribbons I played Aunt Naimh, who became Naimh Green Slosher. I'm streaming from Wurundjeri Lands and I use she, her pronouns. And let's introduce Lex.
Hello, I'm Lex. I played Una over the 3 years of Dance of Ribbons, who ended up being the Kelda of Silkern, if I can not mince my words. I use any pronouns, and I'm recording from Wurundjeri Land.
Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh. I played an old friend / Killian at Dance of Ribbons over the 3 years. I use he, they pronouns. And I'm also, Wurundjeri Land.
Fantastic.
Hugh?
My turn?
Hi, I'm Hugh. I played Fionn Apguinna at games 2 and 3. I wasn't at game 1, much to my eternal regret. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm streaming from Boomerang Country.
Fantastic. Jess?
Hi, I'm Jess. I played Erd. I was a spinner. Also head of Spider Cult, but that, whatever. And I'm on Wurundjeri Country.
Okay.
Anyway,
just yada away all the way through.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for your introductions. Sorry about the tech problems at the start, but that's all fixed now and there will never be any tech problems ever again. Let's start with the first question I had was about collaboration. And for me, I think that was one of the really important things about the dance, which was that people couldn't do anything really by themselves. And it was necessary for every story to be collaborative. And I just wanted to know who had a cool thing to say about collaboration at this LARP in particular.
I've got something pretty... So years 2 and 3, I played a lot of the spiritual game, doing the magic and religion and philosophy with and at people. And one of the things that was really cool to watch, because all those things really only worked if you had a lot of people doing a lot of things where everyone got to feel and be cool. And a lot of things kept evolving out of it, where by game 3, a lot of the rituals felt very similar, not in a way that was reductive or not unique, but everyone had such a similar language that they'd collaborated and build it together. That meant that you'd come to a ritual, everyone would be able to sing or play an instrument or do something together, and everyone was kind of in there together performing and creating. And it kept just kind of getting easy to slot that in because everyone kind of had a bit of a flow and an understanding of how that should work.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I thought that was really cool.
Do you think that was by design, or do you think that just sort of happened?
It seemed super pointed and consistently intended. Game 2, the Mystics meeting at the workshop, one of the workshops, they kind of said, hey, you guys, your job is to get everyone together and do something together. Your magic works if everyone's together and performing.
Anybody else? On rituals? Or on something else?
I can speak to just like general community collaboration in terms of the role that I ended up in.
Yeah.
So I didn't do any mystic stuff. I was a story recorder, an oath keeper, and then a Kelda. But every aspect of my play was collaboration. The thing that pulled me into the storyline that I ended up following throughout all 3 games was I heard a song first night, dance 1, and then someone did a ritual that mentioned a song, and so someone came and got me because they knew I'd written it down, and then that took me to another group of people that I never would have otherwise interacted with, which then led into a bunch of connections with a bunch of different people who are having dreams and finding information. And the way that like the game was structured to bits and piece information to everyone so that they could then come back together to try to make a puzzle out of the bits and pieces that we had was such a wonderful way to play. It was like literally just scavenger hunting through people and getting to talk to almost everyone because everyone had a piece of everything.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Hugh, do you want to add a thing maybe about the...
I don't have anything on... Oh,
I was going to say about the competition.
Yeah.
The contest. How did that come about?
Yeah, the contest, like, sort of came about, like, me and Heather chatting after one of the workshops where we were like, I wasn't at game one, but there was like a tournament type thing at game one, and Heather and Rune both were talking about how good that was. And I was like, well, maybe we should just do it again, because I was slightly disappointed that there wasn't something like that at game two when I thought there was going to be. But the thing I want to talk about in terms of collaboration is not just like the collaboration between players, which was obviously like integral and really cool, but also the incredibly collaborative attitude of the team, of like the GMs and the story team. Because like I was emailing, not even that much, but I sent like a couple of emails to the story team being like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going for. Do you have anything you want to add to that? And they're like, we really want that to be your thing. And I'm like, okay, but can you make it spooky? Don't tell me about it, but like, can you put in some spook? I'd love that. And they did. Like,
such good spook.
I
don't know. No blood, no glory?
Yeah, right? The no blood, no glory. The like witnesses being like, hey, weird shit's happening because this is significant. And it was cool, and it added to like a lot of it added to like a lot of the feel of it, and it was literally just because the GMs were super open to collaborating with people on, obviously in the moment, but also on the meta level beforehand of like, I sent them an email. I was like, hey, let's do a thing. I'll run the side of it that I know how to run, which is governing people swinging swords at each other, and you add some spice and it'll be sick.
Absolutely.
And also, yes, thank you for pointing that out, Nikki. The whole thing doesn't come around without a lot of collaboration, because I was like, hey, let's run a tournament. And then Bronte was like, I'm going to make a sick belt for it. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't ask you to do that. All right. And then Nikki was like, I'm going to make a sick banner for it. I'm like, okay, sure.
Right? And they were so good.
And it was so sick, and it added so much to it, both of them.
Yeah. Lex, did you have a thing you wanted to add in there? You had your hand up.
No, sorry, I was just sitting strangely. Please ignore me.
Oh my God, the curse of the teacher. I mean, just stretching.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Don't worry. You're allowed to move.
I'm very ADHD and I move a lot. I'll try and sit still.
No. No. Yeah. Sorry.
Human
Jess,
too. It's fine.
Carry on.
I want to talk about the involvement in in-game collaboration between, and it's like change between game 1 and game 3.
Yeah.
For the first game, the whole player base came together to construct the dance, the big ritual on the Sunday, and that was a very active thing where everyone was drawing everyone else in, and we managed to do a big thing together. I don't recall there being that many rituals of faith or mystic rituals in the first game. I think I was present for 2, and that was more than other people I spoke to, for someone who wasn't playing a mystic character. In the second game, I was far more adjacent to the mystic game, and a lot of my involvement with that was finding out that a mystic wanted to do a ritual and then gathering people in and making sure they had what they needed to do the ritual. But by the time we hit game 3, the player base could see a ritual's happening, come. So that role that I was in game 2, the drawing people in, the catching the flies for the spider, that wasn't necessary because it was happening organically. So just like the progression of play and the ability to recognise and feel welcome to join in, and how that's progressed between the games.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to add.
No, I think that in dance, like we learned how to join in more automatically.
Yeah, but also how to recognise that something's happening. So
Yeah.
they weren't any more public in game 3 than they were in game 2. We were running things in the middle of the green, and still we'd get like 5 people. Whereas this time you'd be running something off to the side of the green and you'd have 20 people, and that's fantastic. But it's just that people were better able to see and more willing to take part, and I think that's fantastic. But it's the learning how the play works and feeling like welcome to contribute.
So, do we think that there's an element of needing to train people to do collaboration?
To an extent, but I think the more in part of that was the culture welcomed it.
Do you think that is one of the chat wants to know if you think that's partly due to the larger player base, like having more people here?
Let's say
No.
yes and no.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do Jess then Josh.
Just the increase in players this year compared to last year, there was an extra 30, but we had a 4-fold turnout on rituals compared to last year. So no, I don't think it's just increased numbers. It might be better weather.
Yep.
Josh?
I think the change between 1 and 2, there were more people doing things, but the critical mass of players from year 1 had that shared language that they gave to new people, and going into new game, there's always going to be more reservations to do things, but when you've got an incredibly hyped up player base that had a positive experience bringing their friends into something, they're going to have higher expectations. And I think then again, that flow and effect of people practicing doing more things with more people year 2 would have then impacted the new players going into year 3, as well as the old players having like coached expectations.
Yeah. What about mechanics? Like in terms of the actual game rules, do we think that made a difference to that? Like mechanics were different in Dance 1 in that no one, at least that they were introduced differently. No one knew what anyone else's rules were except for me, because I'm the best one.
So the stated goal of the magic only works once. Don't tell people what you can do.
Yeah,
That's what we're
sort
referring
of
to?
thing. Do we think that made it harder for people to jump into rituals? Or do you think that the mechanics over time made it easier for people?
I think year 3 at the workshops, they were really explicit about, with the mystic stuff, that the goal is to impress witnesses. Like, that actually got told to everyone. And I think that transparency on the rules definitely made a lot of people go, oh, it's group performance. Fuck yeah.
You can just start talking whenever no one else is talking. August wants to know if we think that the fact that it was the last one and people were less afraid of just dying.
Yeah, I feel like to an extent. I mean, certainly it influenced my actions outside of like ritual space, but in terms of wanting to get involved, I think partly that it was the last one, but partly also just that like people were more comfortable with it culturally. Like there wasn't the people who needed to be familiar with it were familiar enough and were talking to the people who weren't, and it made everyone more comfortable with just participating, right? And it was really explicit that it was just like, these are invitations, that rituals are invitations. It wasn't sort of, I had a little bit game 2 where I was like, rituals are someone else's game that I shouldn't, like, that I need to be invited into. Whereas this time it's like, no, there's something happening. Okay, sick. They want me there. I know they want me there because everyone said beforehand enough times that they want everyone.
Yeah, as many people as possible, right?
I think it's the interesting thing with the hidden mechanics from year one as well. It's like it started hidden, and so it was like not more of an individual thing, but something that was someone's speciality. And then as the games continued and the community spread and the knowledge spread and like people started to kind of know what was going on more, that kind of unlocked that more collaborative aspect of like, oh, this is like, I didn't know what was happening before, so that's a little bit standoffish to me, I'm not sure. But when you've got people who are like, even if they're not mystics, but they know something that's going on, they'll be like, oh, come, like this person, come with me because I know that something cool is going to happen. Come watch with me or come be part of it. I think it's like that just general development of community and sharing of knowledge that kind of organically happened that caused it a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might actually be some of the breaks on collaboration in the first game was the fact that the rules were hidden from each other. Like, I'm the kind of player who will seek to learn other people's rules so I can help them figure out how they play in play. And that wasn't an option at all at the first game. So I definitely felt an inability to engage with other people's play because we were so siloed. So I remember feeling that very strongly at the first event, that I couldn't help people understand how they could potentially play out their rules because of just complete ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a thing at the second game too. A little bit less so.
To a lesser extent, but yes.
Like, the mechanics were still hidden from each other, even though by that point there were players who knew how it worked.
Yeah, and some things had changed and we didn't know how they changed.
Yeah.
I want to kind of move on a little bit from the collaboration question, but like one thing that I think I noticed is in Dance 1, it was mostly people asking permission from the witnesses or telling the witnesses they needed to do something. And there was NPCs pushing. I want to know about, like, we talk mostly about collaboration with players, we touched on witnesses a bit, but how much do we feel like collaboration, like of all of the work you did joining into other people's stories and so forth, how much of that was witness driven or NPC driven versus how much of it was player driven?
I spoke to 3 NPCs this game, and I had a witness speak to me twice during rituals, saying words to shout out, and that was it. At none of the games have I asked a witness a question.
How did you play 12 days without asking a witness? Oh, wow.
You just play with other players. Also, my rules didn't require it. I never had a question to ask them. And what I could do was entirely in support of other people. So people would ask me things, I would ask other people things. Occasionally I would say to other players, I need you to ask me a favour. I can't offer you anything until you ask me a favour.
Amazing.
But I don't need to ask a witness if I can do that or not.
Yeah, totally. So they gave you that initial enablement, but that was about it.
Yeah, they provide the world and like spooky vibes, but because I was part of 2 rituals this time. One was the challenge of Lou, in which case I got the general like shout this is the crowd, like spooky voice, and the other one was the like purple string one on the Sunday morning, which bad vibes anyway. But that was it from witnesses to me. And in the first year when I was standing next to you and the land ate me, that was it.
Fair.
Yeah, I think it kind of depended what storyline you wanted to follow. If you had a lot of NPC interaction, like first year, there was the NPC who was the advisor to Kilkern, and so they were like a huge part of how my storyline went, because that was my touch point in where I was going and where I was coming back to. And then I was an Oathkeeper, so my mechanic interacted with other players entirely. And then as time went on and I got kind of more community involved, it was kind of, I then was able to ferry people towards NPCs that might put them onto quest lines if they were lost. So it was like a for me, it was always like a touchstone and a thing that I knew was there that I can direct people to give help with, or if there's because I ended up in kind of that shepherding role. Like it was good to have that there to like shepherd other players towards, of like, this is how you can do a ritual, this is how you can find like information, this is a quest line that you could follow. I didn't personally end up involved in a lot of it because I was basically either writing stuff down or talking to people, but I know that like a lot of other people did kind of get shepherded that way, and I was kind of tangentially able to facilitate that kind of collaboration, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Just want to say Memento Leth is doing outstanding work in the chat.
Hi, Dan. You're great.
That's Dan. Hi,
love you, Dan.
We love you.
Love you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
I will say I had a lot of interactions in the first and second game. I think this one was an outlier.
Josh?
I had a lot of personal interactions on like short scale with NPCs, in the same way with a lot of players. So I can't speak to that in a collaborative sense, outside of like it being a personal interaction. Of nice to have them there. Yeah. But I talked to a lot of witnesses to Game 2 and Game 3. Game 1, not so much. Playing combat, all I needed to worry about was if I was bleeding. Game 2 and 3, every time I wanted to do a ritual, I'd have to do an initial conversation of how much will this cost. And then after that fact, I would then have to tell them, hey, I've got what I need for it. I'm going to do it at this place, at this time. Does that work for you guys? If not, what needs to work? And it became negotiation of when. That one especially so in Game 2. Game 3, it was more, hey, we're doing this now-ish. Is that good for you? And it was almost always yes, because there seemed to be more witnesses around. So it was a lot of enabling of my mechanics, and then like adding to tension of scenes, like that purple string ritual that you mentioned earlier. I like did this mechanic side of that by being the mystic there, and then there were like a bunch more witnesses than I expected, all whispering horrors into people's ears and giving us all the same nightmare. And that's like where the collaboration came in. They just added to what was happening, because like they are the magic. If you are doing magic, they are the magic, which is so cool.
Volontrastrari, sorry, you're next. Volontrastrari pointed out.
Sorry to cut you off in chat. The thing I think, having only played games 2 and 3, right, I wasn't at game 1. The difference I noticed, I think, in terms of how much I was interacting with witnesses versus NPCs, I didn't interact with many NPCs at game 2. I did it a lot more at game 3, because the way game 2's main plot was happening was all like really witness driven, because like it was just like the magic is happening mysteriously, right? It was witnesses going around delivering curses, witnesses going around like telling people what to do. Like on one occasion it was Tim, Red Doublet being K, which sick, love your work, coming up to me and being like, you should like go and kill someone. No, he's like, you should go and hunt someone, and I'm like, how hard do you want me to go on this? And he's like, I'm like, all right, okay.
All right, I'm gonna murder that guy.
But like, the fact that this time, even though functionally like the Fey NPCs were kind of like witness adjacent, right, in that they were buck wild magic story driving things, it still felt a lot different because they were characters within the world that we could interact with. And a lot more of the plot was coming, like other plots were coming through NPCs, I think. So I was interacting with them more a lot this time, whereas last time it was mainly witnesses driving things. When I wasn't driving things, I wasn't driving things much at game 2.
Yeah. There's that point about how more fear of the unknown in earlier games made it harder for players to get involved, while understanding sort of beats in the story made it easier. for players to involve themselves in things, which I think is a pretty strong point. Like understanding the game or the idea of the game, I think helps, or thinking that you understand the game probably helps too. I think I got through quite a lot just by being like, I know better than everyone, and just like doing stuff. Which I think leads into the next bit, which is, I think I've seen a lot of LARP where characters come in and then they come out 5 years later as a more powerful version of the same person they went in as. And I think that is very different to the dance. Like Aunt Naimh had a very big, very personal character arc. And I just thought I would let you guys have a chance to talk about character arcs. Go Lex, I can see you.
Okay. I have so many thoughts about all the character arcs and everything that I got to witness and watch. There was so many, and I was so lucky to number one, have this as kind of like my first LARP experience, and have this be the first character that I've carried all the way through like a game, or like a set of games, which is really cool. But yeah, Una started out as a person who claimed that they cared more about story than people and was just there to watch things, and then came to a world where people were story, and so learnt that, and then in the end learnt that, oh no, I only care about the stories because of the people. And it was just like that kind of literal, almost every game, that 3-part evolution that ended up making sense as why, like, because game 2, she was so confused as to why people voted her Kelda, because it's like, I just ran around and wrote stuff down. Like, I ran around, I wrote stuff down, I helped with a ritual. Cool. Great. I made myself slightly visible. Why do people think, why is that? And then I got to game 3, I'm like, oh, no, it's because it's the love of community. It's the love of people. It's like, the game felt like, it's a silly thing to say about LARP, but the game felt real. The people felt real. The connections that you built felt real. And I've been having conversations with people, even just about like the time jumps in between the games of like that 5 years, and coming back every game, and your character did feel older and more experienced and had more happen to them. And like in some cases, like people physically changed their kit. Like I know Em, who played Hemlock, when they had their soul taken at Woden's, literally dyed part of their hair for it to represent that. And like people put so much into that, like development, as well as so character development, along with like the development of the story and the timeline, was, to jump back on collaboration, I think a really collaborative beat between both organizers and players, and that like that intertwined kind of narrative creation and that respect that you have for both the story and the people you're playing with, to be able to have that evolution and that trust with people, to be able to play like a lifetime out, which is cool.
Oh, sorry, I would say it's not silly to call that, like, to say that LARP feels real. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
But it's for.
I could probably, like, jump in talking about arcs, because I saw a lot of really dramatic arcs happening to, like, other people. It was huge. I mean, like, shut up, Bronte, right? The arc of, like, start of game 2, I make jewelry, to, like, end of game 3, saving the world.
Real quick, Bronte's work, real fucking cool.
Yeah,
I haven't
right?
taken them off.
And also still making jewelry and being incredible about it. But like, there's also a lot of really sort of subtle arcs. I don't feel like Fionn, for instance, changed that much, but like he went into game 2 knowing that Math was going to retire and wanting to be Kelda. And I didn't really like make a huge show of it. But apparently everyone sensed it and was like, you should not be Kelda. Which, fair, reasonable. It would have been a bad idea. It would have been terrible. God.
It would have been an interesting idea.
Yeah, we love you too, Bronte.
But yeah, then his like sort of subtle arcs of like not changing much. He reacted at his end of game 3 in basically the same way he would have reacted to stuff at the start of game 2. but it felt just different enough that I'm like, oh, there is still an arc there. And it's really interesting the way that a game can produce such incredibly huge character changes, and also the people who seem like they're staying the same aren't.
Absolutely.
But we knew. You all knew. Yes. All right. I'll take that as a compliment of my acting ability rather than an insult to the character's sensibility. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's that thing where I don't know, people turned up and they were chained. Oh my God, Bronte.
Can't see.
Sorry, Bronte says at
allowed.
the end of game
Discord
3,
today.
Math told Naimh that Fionn would have made a good Kelda. And how's that for character
Matt's allowed
arcs?
to be wrong.
Oh,
That
That's
is great
heartbreaking.
character arcs. Josh, your character was basically the same all the way through, right?
oh, super consistent, no changes at all.
Do you want
The
to
same and everything.
hang on? I actually really want to go back to
Hugh?
no, to Josh's character arc. But first, chat's August said that sorry, August played Gwynna, Aunt Gwynna, who's what Finn's mum.
Yeah.
Who said that Finn couldn't be Kelda because he was too important. He had to keep having his voice opinions voiced. And
Too much of a shithead to be allowed to be the leader.
Tellery, or Joe, not me, Joe, the other Joe, pointed out that the staying almost the same when everybody else is changing is a statement in and of itself. And that is, in fact, a powerful thing. And it's a proper story. Auntie Gwynna, my apologies. You were not Aunt Gwynna. Although, I still...
don't get that right.
I maintain that it would have been excellent to veil Gwynna. But...
So epic, but
Well, she has that much power already. We all know it. Anyway,
Terrifying
Josh.
concept.
Josh, tell us about your
Me.
character arc.
Oh god, how do I summarize this in a way that's consistent and makes sense?
Taryn, I'm going to
Don't
ban
mention-
you.
You're just going to make a piece of your job out of it. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So I went into first game playing Killian of Kilkern, cousin to Killian of Dunmoore. And we were both swords of the clan as a competing young dickheads who want to be good at fighting and care about fighting for others as their mainstay interaction. And played a lot of my game focusing on duty, and then I killed Delphina as a plot run by Math, which I found out later he sold me out on. Because the clans didn't want someone to become a god, and that's reasonable. But I killed her, and then when she went to talk and have her last moments, I slit her throat because that seemed pragmatic. And a whole bunch of Amorian family were next to me, and I had to deal with, for the first time in my character's life, crying family mourning their dead child, right next to me, with me still holding the bloody knife. And in that moment, I decided I'm not doing any more violence. No thanks. End of the game, I went and became a priest of Kelric, god of life and death, because, oh god, did I have some sins to try and balance.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, spider for spider cult. Game 2 went.
I have a question for Josh real quick about that moment.
Yes.
How did that hit coming from someone who mainly had LARPs where death was not a thing with consequences?
Oh, I also hadn't had a lot of practice playing deep characters and taking them off, so it hit me for a couple months afterwards.
Yeah.
I was sitting with it pretty heavily as I don't even know if I can maintain. And it's part of why I stopped doing fencing as a hobby, because I started really philosophically as a person questioning the violence of language and language as violence.
Holy shit.
It's a small thing, little thing.
Yeah, wow.
How to put it?
That's quite a large thing, actually.
Yeah. I like to downplay it because it's just me waxing emotional over something that was
It's not.
simulated and honestly
No,
really
that's
cool.
what this is for.
No.
Yeah. Oh god, someone in chat just
I
said
just provoking like changing. But
That's
anyway,
Pogs.
do you want us to break and then come back to you, or do you want to talk about 2 and 3?
no, I'm happy to keep pushing through.
Okay. Let's put.
So
You're
let's put it,
underdog.
That's a great question, Jess. Thank you. But yeah, go, Josh. Push.
So, Pogs put in, is it heavy? It's a thing. So, my next game, I was playing a priest and I was trying to do like non-violence. Don't want to hurt anyone else. I was talking to the dead a lot. And talking to Delphina, who I killed, and trying to play the reparations and consequences of those actions a lot. But the other thing was, I was interacting with martial characters in my clan in Kilkern, asking them if it's heavy, if the weight of the sword and the actions they take with it is heavy, and can they live with the weight that they have to carry both in of their blade and in of those they strike with it. Which Pogus, who played Bryn, didn't come back as a Martial Gear 3 because of that, because they couldn't sit with it as a character. And so I was doing that, and then I was also grappling with the weight of my actions. And I found out towards the end of the game that Delphina was still stuck to the land because of a promise that she had owed, and that she needed to have her story remembered and told and sung through the earth so that she could find peace. And every time that story was told to me or by me around the clans for Vicaria was about how Killian slayed Delphina. And so I decided, nope, I'm going to ask my Kelda, Lex and I talked about it between games, to blacken my name in all of their histories, and I chose to no longer have a name.
I did quite literally also do that in my notebook. Like, every mention of Killian's name is blacked out, literally, in, like, ink. It's stricken.
And, yeah, so I stopped being a person. I was going to try and find a cool name or be renamed between things, but coming into Game 3, I realized I don't want to have a name, I just want to be my actions in the world, so I just became an old friend. Every time someone's like, hi, I'm an old friend. That was how I was introducing myself, quite literally, coming into Game 3. And I wanted the weight of my actions, which I'm so much past the feelings about them, but I wanted them to still be symbolic in the world, so I started the game, and both morning, Saturday, and Sunday, I was dyeing my hands blood red in vats of vinegar, food dye, and water to try and like wear my actions, and also like, hey, all of the things that I do are touched by my actions and my sins.
Yeah.
And very
also
Catholic education
real
of me. Oh, it was sick. I kept having witnesses giving me free dreams because I was just sitting there vibing for 45 minutes.
But I was just gonna point out that Finn, who didn't have a character arc, is like not quite his last words, but pretty close to them, was, you know, hang my sword over the mantelpiece and don't let my children pick it up ever.
Yeah, that was always kind of there for him from the beginning. I would be really interested to know, right, if there were any martial players who came out of a Dance of Ribbons not constantly thinking about the weight of violence and like the horrific burden that having a sword actually is. Because like that came to me in like the first workshop of Game 2. I was like, oh, you know, I'm here to hit people with a sword because that's what I, Hugh, enjoy doing physically at LARPs, right? It's a fun activity to try and touch your friends with a big stick. And then I was like, wait, shit, what the fuck does this actually mean for someone who has a family? Like, and then it's like, well, of course it's, you're like, oh, is it heavy? He's like, yeah, of course it's fucking heavy, but like, someone's got to do it. And so here I am until that's what he did, right? He was like, I'm going to walk this horrific road with a heavy burden towards a very dark place that I know is going to end like that until someone pulls me off it. And then in the end, he didn't get pulled off it in time. And that's beautiful and also tragic. But I think
that steps back to that, how do we collaborate with the witnesses and the NPCs in the game a lot, where quite a lot of the collaboration with the writers was not them sending plot at us, because actually there was not very much of that, right? For a lot of us, where what it was creating the space and the circumstances and the opportunities to find these lessons and to make these things happen.
It was real Socratic stuff, right? Of like not teaching, not like delivering a message by talking to you, but delivering a message by just asking you questions and being interested in the answers.
Amazing.
And just being like, hey, like, what do you think about this? And then having to like stop and invent your own depth and like look inward.
It wasn't a fight that killed him.
Jumping back on.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Job.
I got any.
I have 2 little points on that. Number one, after Finn died, Una had a incredibly serious conversation with the sword of our clan, Tinnis, where I literally grabbed them by the collar, took their sword from their hand, made them throw it on the ground, and promised me that they could also be something other than the weight that they carried. And they had a sworn's promise. And in the end, their promise, the thing that they asked of me by the end of the dance, was find me something else to do, find me who to be. Which was really fucking cool. And then on the nature of collaboration and world building and how the witnesses and the GM team kind of got us to build our own world. In the workshops where we got to literally sit down with the butcher's paper and write out bits and pieces for our clan, not even just for our clan, but make up mythology for every clan, every canton, sit there and collaboratively build a world that we only had the skeleton of. The fact that the tying each other together and being scared of the dark came about in the first 1 or 2 workshops of Dance 1 for Garmontians, and then ended up being able to bridle the Mary Lewin or the Fairy Lewin, or whatever we ended up calling it, is insane. Of that carry through from game 1 to game 3, and just that continued collaborative question asking that I think made the world so special, because it was so collaborative in its nature at its very bones.
Absolutely. Okay, we do need to move on with time, but I wanted to know any last thoughts on character arcs?
Jess, have you had thoughts on character arcs?
Many. I'll just go with themes, right? So, enter the world at start of game 1 as a 21-year-old who has never been outside of her very small bit of Kilkern, which is basically she grew up in a cave, right?
Yeah.
So I did that by not reading any of the lore of the world and just entering in naive with the intention of learning from other players. So that arc I'm going to call Hope. It ended with her sister giving everything that she had to become one of the Swept. For reference, I'm not sure if Erd or Skuld were the first to step in when that happened, but Erd understood why Skuld did it, because Erd also did it, but she wasn't Swept. Game 2 was largely based on faith. So Erd very much took on, still as a commoner, but as a follower of Kelleridge, and with the taking comfort in the certainty of death. We are all going to die. When death will come for us. When it comes for us, we can't avoid it. It will happen. So that was very much a certainty for game 2 and playing with faith. Game 3, she entered game 3 in a position of anger and despair. Really. Yeah. But the way that I'd written it with Bronte is we were married and had a relationship based on mutual respect. So as it became unavoidable that she'd have to give up on her faith, not in putting it aside, but in actively dismantling it, that became the relationship Erd had with Maeve, it was very grounding for her, and became like, let's just call it very central. And so then, Josie, you were saying well, often a player will go in with a character and at the end of 5 years, they'll come out with a character that's the same character but more powerful. No, Erd, like, was a very different character and, like, less powerful than she went into the game. So, yes, anyway. So, like, a very massive, like, complete shift of who she was as a character. Also with a very deep understanding of the world and people and things.
Quite a 3-act structure. Like, it's very much, you know, you could make a Star Wars out of it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, anyway, many thoughts. A lot of Game 3 was spent in quiet or very loud contemplation.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh?
Can I just touched on the back end of like my Game 3 because I got to like a little bit of something and then just a bit more.
Sorry,
no, please do.
No, that's all good. I was trying to not be a person that would be a role, but the staining of the hands was so my actions are still remembered. So otherwise, all I was doing was facilitating rituals and not really having a lot of myself in things, which was a really fun thing to play because over the 3 games, I went from being a strong, intentioned person to a like quieter person playing a role.
Yeah.
So that went almost weaker and less of a character by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I became a much weaker character by the end, right? Where it was like, like throwing away power. But yeah, so Dan points out that the collaboration of players into world building was great, but also a big hurdle for newer and shyer and more mechanically focused players. Like that, that was really difficult for some. I know a couple of my friends are very much the crunch people, who found that quite challenging. But it felt uneven player to player, which is an excellent segue into the next topic. Dan, so clever. And the next topic is from a list of review questions. Gareth and I used to like write these like reviews for the GMs after every Larp we went to. And we had like these lists of questions we would go through. And it was very egotistical of us, but also quite helpful for people because we were like, this is the sort of thing that we want back when we run games. And one of the questions from Gareth can make, I don't know, the list of questions available. You can't read any of the reviews because they were very specifically only for the people who ran those games. But and because we would be very constructive, but also very critical in the sense of being a critic. But the question that we wanted to talk about on this one was game distributed evenly? Did some types of player or some types of person get more game or a different quality of game? Not just a different kind of game, because we all sign up for different kinds of game. And as God's perfect and favourite princess, I feel like, no, everyone got just as much stuff as me. But what do you guys think?
You go.
You're both very polite.
Okay. I'll start then. I'm in the center. Everyone pay attention to me. So I did not put myself here. Discord put me here. Do not blame me for this. Interesting thing on that, as I kind of came into the Kelda position, I didn't necessarily get a lot of pre-game information, but being in the position that I was in, I had a lot of people coming up to me, or my mission that I gave myself was, if I see anyone looking lost, if I see anyone who I haven't checked in with before, or like any members of my clan that I haven't seen before, haven't interacted with a lot, I'm gonna make it my mission to like keep checking in with them and make sure that like if there's anything I can facilitate. And that ended up being a really great kind of check-in point for me with everyone, of just sort of seeing where and how things lay and what people played with, because some people definitely wanted like less to do with the plot and wanted to kind of like have a bit more of a low-key thing, and some people were like striving for and looking for stuff that they hadn't gotten access to. And so it's the interesting thing of different types of distribution, different ways of dispelling information, and then also different levels that players want to interact with that, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's uneven by choice, and then other times it's like people are searching for it, and like it has to be delivered and delineated in many different ways. And I found probably most of the way that it was done at this game was through player, and through like player pass that information, unless you started with a lot and even then you had to like still give it out. Yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling at this point.
That was good.
I'd like you to talk about Dunmoore's experience with NPCs for game 2, please.
Yeah, we didn't have a heap. Like,
You didn't have any.
We had one technically.
Not physically.
Like this is.
No complaints or concerns about any individuals, but in play.
No. I also want to say that, like, explicitly, this is a thing that changed hugely between games, and like I appreciate the team taking on the feedback. I presume they took on the feedback. Either that, or they're just very smart and saw the same problem. But like, Dunmoore felt like a lot of the people from Dunmoore Game 2 felt like we didn't get a heap of the attention, especially compared to the other clans who were doing big cool stuff and having a lot of sort of big cool stuff not given to them, but certainly
Available.
Made space for. Yeah. Which, like, on a meta level is very funny because like most Dunmoorians think of themselves as the type who just get stuff done in the background while the other two clans are being big and showy about it. But like, yeah, we didn't have a lot of sort of direct lines to story team via NPCs in Game 2. And then that changed pretty massively in Game 3. We appreciate that a lot. And I think there was unevenness in Game 2. I think there was more unevenness in Game 2, and I think the story team noticed this and tried to smooth it out in Game 3. Obviously, like, they're never going to get it absolutely perfect. Everyone's getting the same amount of plot, right? Again, you know, some people it's like by choice, right? They're not trying to engage with as much of the stuff they're being given as other people, and that's fair enough. But yeah, there was definitely an unevenness, and it has definitely improved as the game goes on. I suspect as the game runners find their feet and players are more comfortable communicating with the teams more comfortable communicating with players, there's building a working relationship over 3 years. You get sort of more honest, more frank, more ability to collaborate with each other that you just don't get without that kind of familiarity.
I would just like to point out that if you guys were cooler like we are, then you would get more stuff.
Or if you just stayed
cool
simple.
make worse decisions.
That means you're less cool than
Make bad decisions.
You realise that, right?
No, not me personally, but as a clan, it's fine.
Yeah, or just be like Kilkern and make a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah, or like own the pub.
Yeah. No. Main part of it.
I actually do think it was part of it, where I think that major play spaces where people congregate, if a clan controls part of that, then there is naturally a sort of centering of plot space in there. Like if you go to your clan space, that's also where everyone goes to meet each other, then that's going to be helpful to you in terms of finding more plot.
Is this with the Kilkern
What
Tavern?
about embedded
Yeah.
plot?
Sorry?
What about embedded plot? So for game 2, Kilkern had, was it 7 or 9 NPCs? It was a large amount of NPCs. How many? So we've confirmed that Dunmoore had approximately 1. How many did Hathaway have from memory?
We had exactly 1 from memory.
Yeah.
But that one
So,
was
in
super
this
fucking...
game-
Anyway, I don't know. But
yeah.
it's different. No, we had one who was dedicated to the full game, was not really dedicated to us necessarily.
Yeah. Speaking of Dunmoore this year, we had 2. Matt, who was dedicated to the whole game, and the Blood Chronicler, apart
Who
from
was
being
dedicated to the whole game.
a vending machine. Yeah, he was dedicated to the whole game. I spoke to him once on the Friday night, and that was it. Did you have any play with him, Hugh?
I had a
Did
little
he
bit,
provide
yeah,
any?
like he didn't provide plot necessarily.
Yeah, he was someone to talk to.
Yeah, he was someone to talk to, and that was like, I mean, so was math, right? And like that was obviously a big part of game 3, as like, hey, here's some people to, I mean, from a like meta perspective, it's like here's some people to talk to because you want to tell your stories because the game's ending. But like I don't know. Maybe it's because I know Gareth and I like Gareth a lot. Maybe it's because Math is Finn's literal uncle as opposed to just like a metaphorical clan uncle. But it felt kind of really plot spotlight central to have Math be one of the NPCs, even if he was in service of the whole game. It was like, that's our boy up there doing the whole thing. That's him. That's my uncle.
And he
up
was
on stage
about as
telling everyone that they
as
just won the game.
characters get, right? Like having been
right.
the
He was
Kelda in the
dumb
last
to a
2
fault,
games.
and that's why he gave up his. That's why he gave up his soul to save the world. Dunmoore.
Didn't kill him anyway.
Very dumb.
But what about so how did
I can only speak in comparison to the other half of the game.
I also felt like Vicaria had less NPCs in general than Garmont. Except Kilkern, obviously, as God's favourite princess. In the first game, I had my own NPC. How's that? Like 1 just for Aunt Naimh.
I know you, Zali. I promise. I know your username. Sorry, I just saw Zali chatting in the chat.
But
Speaking as an
yeah,
NPC.
I think they spread out. But how did NPCs integrate in Kilkern? How did you guys feel? Like, did you feel like you had like the extra 10 NPCs or?
Well, in game 2, it felt like you couldn't get away from them.
I don't know.
It was an interesting thing of we made a decision at the end of game 1, and then we had the consequences of our actions appear in game, and it was very much they had their plot that they were doing, and they very much were struggling against being Kilkerny. So we had that internal friction that came from those NPCs that had been ingratiated but did not want to be. So it was like an interesting kind of pull there between like what they were doing and hang on, sorry, I just read something in chat and it confused me. It was a bit difficult to engage with, and they were just kind of always there, as I think they've said. It was complicated. But I think it felt more as they continued in game 3, they felt more like NPCs with plot lines and less sort of need to be ingratiated into the clan. They were there for a purpose rather than just to create conflict, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To irritate us.
Yeah, and like the NPCs this year who were there to sort of create conflict were there to do it with everyone in the form of like the Inquisition, right?
No, the Inquisition went.
Which shout out to all of them, they're sick.
They are sick, but they were there to create conflict specifically with the Garmontians.
I don't know. I started my event basically on the Saturday morning, getting in fights with them, and
That's fair.
never really stopped.
I mean, that's because you're half
they
Garmontian.
came down and we were like, "Hey, this is Vicarian stuff. You're not meant to be interacting with Vicarian stuff." And they're like, "We'll fucking do it anyway." And I'm like, "All right, let's dance, boys."
Yeah, fair enough.
And one of them got stabbed.
That does actually sound great, though. Josh, you haven't said much.
I didn't particularly engage with a lot of the clanless interaction. It felt cognitively dissonant from the decision we made at the end of Game 1. And I had other stuff to do, like steal Dunmoore's main NPC for ghost stuff. Because Alaska was NPCing for Dunmoore, and then she spent so much time doing dead Delphina stuff that was very central to my game.
We did that.
Whoops. One thing that I want to note that I think is endearing and very funny with the clanless is Davey has such a loud voice that carries so well and is really resonant. And it's so beautiful, and he can sing well, and he does cool monologues, and is in your face loud. And when you're in a tavern or in a play space and you're halfway across the field and you can hear him and you know that plot is directed at you, it feels very hard to get away from, which on one hand is encapsulating and beautiful, and on the other hand is daunting, I would say, and inflicting. So I know that would definitely have helped create some of the abrasive interactions that people worried about, because even if you weren't directly engaging with it, you had the reminder behind you. Which, fucking cool.
Right?
Encapsulating,
really cool.
Consuming, but at the end of the day, if something has that much of a consistent impact, then it's doing something, and that's neat.
Very true.
That's Larp, baby. Thing you don't
Larp,
get
baby.
outside these incredibly physical experiences. Lex.
Hello. Sorry, really quick. I just read something in chat that I think was really interesting to discuss.
That's good.
I think it was Bronte who said Kilkern counted their NPCs among the dead in Game 3. Yes,
That's a
that
very
was
strong point.
Yes. I think technically I made that decision as Kelda, because, and the reason I did that was because that was the thing that Kilkern had chosen to do. We'd chosen to take in the clanless. We'd chosen to take them in as members of our family, and so they were going to be recognized as that.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't a player. Yeah, I didn't even actually think about it in the moment until you just pointed it out there, because I was like, oh yeah, they're NPC, but they're Silkerni. They're here. They still deserve to be mourned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, from one point of view, you could say Hathaway had 6 NPCs at Dance 3. Because of the 4 Black Rat members who came to our meetings, and at least some of them. And were our best friends in every way and did all the things just as we wanted them to. Sorry. That is a good point, though. It's so I guess the question goes, where players don't get, and groups of players don't get an even amount of stuff. And for some of them, that's what they're asking for, and that's what they want. And for some of them, that's not quite there. How much do we think of that as a necessary, a important part of the game design, and how much needs to be fiddled? Jess.
Going forward, if anyone wants to run their own games, this is a massive part of it. Not speaking for what we've just played, so I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but going forward, this is a massive part of it. If you don't consider the breakdown of your player groups and then write story proportional to that, you are going to miss things, and you don't know how much you're missing things by. Potentially never if no one complains about it. But say you've got a game where there's 6 factions, and also this isn't referencing Dance of Ribbons, this is referencing someone else. And one of the factions is 50% of your play base. If they get a sixth of the plot, you can't account for the players within that half of your player base who want more or who want less. You haven't got that choice. You haven't chosen how you're distributing your plots. So if anyone's thinking about writing games, write by numbers, at least to like an extent, or at least review by numbers. Have you covered these players? Have you covered these players? Have you covered these players? Have you covered these skill sets? Have you covered these skill sets? Have you covered these skill sets?
Right.
This is always worth having in mind when writing games.
And this is a strong and valuable point made with passion and strength. It is key, right? And I think that's one of the reasons that they did faction numbers. Where some games don't, and I think that's a choice you can make. But they didn't do roll numbers. And you're like, if there was a plot for marshals, and there was like 4 of them or whatever, there was more than that. But
when did character sheets close? Was it a month before play or earlier than that?
about a month, a bit less.
Yeah,
Anybody?
so you've got time. You've got time to review your plot based on
of course
numbers
you do.
that you come out with.
But also, I think
character
it's
sheets for any time.
yeah. Whereas I think that if you're like, oh, we should give equal plot to each role, then that's interesting. But I think Dance very specifically doesn't do that, and then trusts their players to go, if I've got too much, I'll give it away. Whereas like the Keldas and Aunt Naimhs of the world are given.
We're encouraged to collaborate. Are we encouraged to give things away?
Keldas,
Do you recall being told to do that at some point?
Yeah.
Keldas work. Okay.
Yeah, as a I unfortunately wasn't able to be at any of the workshops this year, but from everything that I learned about like what the character sheet said and everything here, like literally on my character sheet is like, this is information you must pass to other players. It was really emphasized of like, this must be shared, this must be divided, this must be like given out. And that was like mechanics that was, and I think also emphasized in like when you got plot as well. It's like, this is not just for you, share it.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't get told any of that because I'm very special. No, I think their expectation for me was that I gave away most of what they gave me. Or made other people do it. And I think that they made that. I don't think I ever got specifically told that, but I certainly got. It was certainly made clear to me that most of what I got given was for others. Josh, then Hugh.
Sorry to interrupt and jump over Josh. No, it's a question for you about that thing you just said. Do you think that partly the reason you got what you got in terms of like being God's favorite princess was because the designers had expectations of you as a player and how you'd play it?
Yes.
Yes.
So they don't need to tell you.
100%. And I disagree that they don't need to tell me. I think you should tell your favourite princesses to behave as you expect them to do. Because otherwise they get full of themselves. Except me. Other ones. Josh, what were you going to say?
Just on that note of giving away gameplay, I noticed very consistently when wardens could have just done the thing that they kept looking for other people to do it. I was asked to do things
after game.
Sorry, this year specifically is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Let me rephrase that. The player wardens who weren't
very good at that. Player wardens were very good at that.
So good.
Mark, Brett, and Tang were all consistently looking for someone else to do it. And that was really fucking awesome.
It really was.
Sorry to interrupt.
And they kept dragging people in when they were doing things.
Yeah, and if like Tang had been willing to just do a thing and like just do a Woden magic at people, like they could have saved Finn's life. And they didn't. And it's cool that they didn't and sick. But it's like, if you wanted to be a main character, there was an opportunity to really turn the whole direction of things.
Yeah.
And they didn't. It's cool.
Right? Okay. Last notes on That's a very strong point as well. Somebody mentioned that how much of that's Dan again. Gee, you're doing well, Dan. How much of the thing was the big plot were always she focused, which is slightly modified by the revelation that the Drowned Queen was Io. But the question of whether the Iowites are feeling like they didn't get the thing, we could all speak for them.
Curious.
We could pretend that, I don't know, we're men
Let's
discussing
not.
abortion, but let's not. Let's go
Tune
to
in next fortnight.
next fortnight when we do Garmontian chat with the famous Garmontian Naimh Green. Sorry, Josh, what were you going to say?
I'll just say,
Just super briefly on that year 2 Io. Io was physically like a character at the dance, and that got no screen time because Caillou was a much bigger deal for the clansfolk, and we're louder about it.
Yeah,
Just as a point of contrast and interest.
it is a point of
Yeah,
contact, right?
was
I want to
practice
talk
game
to the
too.
IO people about it.
you have to wait. They're not here tonight.
Yep.
No, it's just because Hathaway's so awesome. Sorry, Lex. What
Also,
were you
just
gonna say?
really quickly to I was just going to say to any of the NPCs, you were all freaking brilliant. I so enjoyed everything that you all did with everything you were given. You were amazing and incredible, and we love you all. You guys are. You have really cool things and you do really cool things, and I'm in awe of all of you and
Right.
the amount that you were able to do with all of us in game, and being able to facilitate things with the information you got and hold off on how many secrets you held. I found out how many secrets you guys were holding. Oh my god, I could not be an NPC. I'm such a blabbermouth. Huge congrats. I love you all. Great job.
That is an excellent point, and yeah. So sweet. Hang on. What was I gonna? Sorry.
Gonna go down to the next question.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna not do the comparisons thing because I think that
We've been covering that.
we've been covering that as we go. So let's move to the one that's not on the list. I was going to add as well, but the role of the witnesses, who are very, very different to a traditional GM in a few different ways. One is that you weren't, they were spiritually in the game with you. One is that they all wore costumes. One is that while in most LARPs, GMs lead things and make things happen and do stuff. The witnesses kind of didn't do that almost all the time. And were largely cast as people who didn't have a lot of LARP experience, but had acting experience to do the cool witness thing, and then to relay messages from the central GM more than make their own GM decisions. And I think that's an interesting way of doing LARP, and I wanted your thoughts on it.
I don't have a lot of sort of behind the scenes thoughts, as I think the only
No,
person
we'll save
here
that for a
has
month
run
from now
one
when we do
myself.
the crew thing.
No,
Yeah,
you have to wait until Hugh's run a game, and then he can have
Yeah.
those thoughts. That's what he
Ah.
said.
You have
my
to wait
bad.
until I've actually experienced what it's like to be on the other side of the curtain. But purely from the sort of player facing perspective, having the witnesses be characters, as present in the game and defining how characters interact with them is genius, right? It's super good. I've been to so many LARPs where we have to we have to kind of make it up. You have to be like, oh, I'm gonna go like talk to the spirits, or I'm gonna go say a significant thing to that tree, and it always sucks. It's never like awful. It's never like, oh, this has totally ruined the scene for me. But it's always awkward, and it's always a point of friction, and like not being able to acknowledge the fact that all of your GMs are staring at you. Jess, you have a question? Go.
Sorry, just backing up about, did you ever have to chase down Luke to get an answer out of him as a GM?
Oh.
He would run away from players.
No, I did. I was way too baby at L5R to be like chasing down plot. Shit happened to me. But yeah, right? It's like, and just being able to like bridge that gap and just define it. Just like put a little circle around it and say, yeah, you're gonna go talk to the spirits, but everyone knows that talking to the spirits is a thing that people do. This is what the spirits look like. This is how you interact with them.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Like one of the most immersion preserving things there.
Somebody check the timestamp on that so you can give it to David. Sorry, Jess.
Another game that did something similar were the first 4 Silkern quests. They had the silent monks. They were dressed as monks and in play. That's the only other game that I can think of that had a similar structure to the GMs. Yes, I think numbers wise there were 3 or 4, and the player base was between 40 to 120. So there weren't as many of them.
There were 4 of us, and there was 120 players.
Yeah.
From memory, Gareth might have better numbers.
Jesus.
Look, that's not the hardest ratio that a Swordcraft quest has had. But the sorry, I wanted to just briefly, that idea of I was too little to go speak to the GMs, I think is an idea that we can pick up in a bit. But before that, anyone else got Lex, Josh, thoughts on the witness thing?
I've got like a super brief one.
Yeah.
I helped GM a pilot test game earlier in this year, and we were meant to be interactable with, and I kept being confused for an NPC who was in the world. As someone I have conversations with, and that was well and fine because I'm happy to play that role because I could do things, while also telling them, I'm so sorry, I'm very busy, I need to go this way, while walking as fast as I could to look like I was busy. Whereas the witnesses, they were definitely characters in the world, but you were told how to interact with them, and they weren't tangible in so much. And I think the framing of the interaction was really cool and also really helped them do their jobs.
Ooh. Yeah.
Not to say that I was having a hard time doing my job being like talked to, it was more just that has an impact.
Yeah.
And then
the framing
also, and then it also provides the GMs with something to play with, which see my forthcoming article on Dance of Ribbons and the Fourth Wall published soon whenever I can find someone who knows journal contacts.
Clip that.
Not really, but
sorry.
Like,
have a button that saves
Lex.
those mentions. Go, Lex.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've been to Dance of Ribbons, and like little other LARPs. This is my first ever game and my first interaction with like witnesses and GMing proper. But it like was hugely immersive, and to speak to like the I'm too baby to speak to a GM thing, I definitely kind of felt that first year where it was like, oh, these are specters, these are cool, I'm genuinely scared of the breeze. I'm scared of the breeze that we can't talk to. But like as you get more comfortable with them as a concept, and like it's really fun to just have like that aspect of the world that is usually such a like rigid, like you think in a video game and you've got like this is how the game works, this is the rules of the game, and this is just the world you're in, but the world interacts back. The world gets you to be scared of them. The world whispers to you. The world moves around you. And the moment where it was like when the gate closed and it was kind of like they were fae the whole time, they were all magic, everything was part of it all, was like mind-blowing. And like getting to stand there and watch that from behind is kind of on the teeter between the veil and not. I could see both like behind the curtain and in front of. And it was just that moment of, oh my, what? Everything is nothing is everyone. Like, crazy.
Do you want to co-author the article?
Yes, please.
Also, it was...
I do, words are my thing.
It was a great flip from... Because the thing is, leading into event 1, we were all told that you couldn't interact with them. And, chat, we were in fact told, do not romance the witnesses, when I tried.
Such a funny reference to the thing I was talking about, because someone kept giving like romance letters, and in the newspaper for the game there was attempts to try and get them to hook up with the GMs.
Oh, that's right, that did happen. That other game. We're like, no, you can't romance them. Okay, stop trying to fuck your GMs. It's weird. Anyway,
At the burlesque show at the drag night. At the box.
Okay, that was a strong point.
I was about to say, I had very good luck with that, but no, sorry.
Yes!
Thankfully, it was very cool.
Okay, fair,
My
fair
friends,
point.
it was like 12, 13 years ago.
Also, that was out of character and separate, so it was fine. But
Yes.
we'll just cut that bit from the recorded version. You're getting yelled at by chat,
Sorry.
Jess.
That was. We did not say that on the phone before we started.
Love you, Em.
If you can,
Josie's died.
if you can no longer hear whining dogs on stream, say thank you to Taryn. But I was going to say, there was a thing in here that I thought was... Oh well, everything's gone. Don't worry about it. I was going to say, there is also the version of the online, the in-world witness, or the in-world GM, where they play a character in the game. We see that in quite a few laps, where, Zeppelin tried one version of it very early. Medusa does it at most of their games. Other people have done it where it's like, even Dancer Ribbons did it with the Amorian Tavern guy and a couple of others, where mostly if they were playing character, you were told they're not GMing, they're playing right now, but sometimes they would do GM from that character. And I think it almost always works worse than not. But that's just from me. What do you guys think?
I do wonder why they did it. The sense that the witnesses could only feed back to the tank as well as they understood, and given that we know most of them were actors or not LARP folk, they wouldn't understand what they're seeing in play as play happens. They may not be getting the essence of the game to then report back. If the game runners aren't chucking laps and just being present in the world, or like adjacent to the world but being present, is the next best thing to do with to NPC, because then you get to speak to people. I don't know,
it's a hard problem, right?
But it's not going to be as good if people are talking to you in character. You're not going to be able to just overhear their conversations or ask pointed questions for clarification. You can't do that if you're in character. Just thoughts.
Yeah. It's also hard if, I would argue sometimes they are a witness. Is a witness witnessing if they don't understand what they see? And I think sometimes, because I think sometimes what's important for them to do is to just be around and to channel stuff back if asked, and sometimes what's important is for them to be able to interpret it themselves, and I think those are different situations. Jess?
Yeah. An example of that was in game 2 when all of Kilkern together came together on the Sunday, swore to each other and to our Oathkeeper what we wanted to uphold as the values of our clan, and then each took on a ribbon and wove all those promises together. That undertaking took hours. There were witnesses present, and when it was done, we turned to the witnesses and said, "It is done," and they said, "Okay, cool," and it was clear that they didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
And that was hours of gameplay for multiple players. It was integral to like a whole bunch of what you have previously called princess players. Yeah, it's hard to tell if any of that made it back to the tank at all. What the weaving actually represented to us.
And I genuinely don't know. I think that there's a bunch of stuff where sometimes, players do stuff and the GMs never find out about it.
Yeah, often.
Right? And I think that's true in... It happened in frigging Watches of Easthaven. We had a Larp where we had, a GM would literally follow every little group of players around the whole time, and there was still stuff that we didn't know about. And you were like, this is very confusing. Okay. So.
Josh wants to say anything.
This is a strong point that Teleri is making.
Josh.
Sorry, Josh. I'll just read this thing where it's like, there is a power tripping and internal competition when you have GMs as major NPCs, and sometimes the GMs will fight each other to be or players will be like, I want that GM and not the other GM or whatever. And I think that the Witness uniform does an excellent job of solving that, and the Witnesses not having individual power or whatever does an excellent job of solving that. What were you going to say, Josh?
I was going to point out Dan's comment about a child can witness their parents arguing they don't have the full context, but they're still witnessing. I think that's incredibly pertinent. Things will still be seen, but the context might be missed, which feels, it's a perfect analogy, I feel. Really cool to read.
I also think it's interesting because it puts the players as the parents and the GMs as the children, which is not usually where they are in that thing. But I do think it's where Dance of Ribbons places them.
Yeah, and also because in terms of conveying, whether a witness understands the intent and the context, they're not the ones determining it, right? The players are the ones, Kilkern are the ones who determined what that whole weave thing meant. I don't know, right? But someone sitting outside who is not having this directly explained to them is trying to interpret that. Yeah. And they're not getting the full context, and they probably never will, right? Because so much of it is internal and so much of it is strictly between people.
Sick. Okay. I'm going to do a thing where we have now been running for an hour and a half, and I'm excited to talk some more. But before we do, let's take a 5-minute break just to allow ourselves to not stare at the camera for that long. And Immersive Arts Melbourne, the first topic I want to talk about, endings. The Larp ended, right? And it had a very extended and it was themed around the end. It was very much the end. It was very big on the end. And we have played 3 of these. And the third one was all, this is the end, which I think is an interesting way of doing it. I also have played LARPs that were excellent, that didn't get an end and just sort of faded or were cut
Died
and
of
never,
COVID.
or died of COVID. Rip Black Powder. Actually, I'm very sad now because I'm talking about endings and now I can't talk. Anyway, how do we feel about like 6 months of build up and then the game being about how it was the last one over and over? And
It was like, it was an ending, and it felt like a conclusion to this story, but it still ended in a way that it felt like the characters could continue on. I mean, I speak from just my personal experience with my character. Like, I got, like, Una got married on the last day to one of her sworn hemlock, and there was like that continuation of that story, and that, like, though technically the gate had ended, there were no witnesses in play. There was like none of the magic there left on the last day, but the magic of the community still continued on, so it still felt like the characters could walk off into the sunset and could still like live on. So it was final, but not, if that makes sense. It was like open-ended in the best kind of way.
yeah. Oh, I think they absolutely nailed ending.
Yeah, 100%. And like building off that thing about like the witnesses, the magic, that whole thing. I appreciate a game that like has an ending, that knows it's going to have an ending. I too am like forever occasionally taunted by like the dangling string of black powder in my heart. And, you know, all of the what could have beens, right? And it's really good not to have that. And like, I think an ending, like a final game, really needs like a lot of emphasis on the fact that it's an ending if people are at all emotionally invested in it, right? It felt like a lot of, I mean, we talked earlier about like Dunmoore NPCs like Math and Abract being pretty specifically there to listen to players tell the stories of the games to give them closure.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like if you're running a game where people are really emotionally invested in it, and that's almost all games, you need to, or maybe should, or maybe it's a good idea to put a lot more into wrapping up than the sort of serial role players who've been doing this for ages and can let go of stuff more easily might think.
Next game, man. Don't worry about it.
Right. So I think the fact that the whole game was like, hey, this is ending, this is an end, was cool. And was probably really necessary for a lot of people, myself included, I think.
And the theme of the game is ending, but the community lives.
Yeah, right. And the whole artistic statement of the whole thing. And the fact that it had an artistic statement, like, I don't know if we're going to come to that later. But
we are, now that you've mentioned it.
We are.
Definitely.
All right, let's keep talking about.
But like, I know writers who use subtext. They're all cowards. And I loved that David did such a, and the rest of the team did such a big thing around like, let's just like bang on this theme and like really hammer it home. In like,
yeah, it's the only way it got through like my plebeian skull. I don't know. I need things spelled out to me pretty obviously if I'm going to get them on the first reading, and there's no second reading. You can't go and rewatch a Larp.
This is it.
You can't be like, damn, what did I miss? Like, let's watch that film again and see what I'm like not picking up on thematically. Like,
you can listen to other people tell you about their experience of what you missed, but that's not the same thing.
That wasn't your game.
Yeah. Jess, Josh?
Anyway.
Ending?
I've played at least a handful of games through to their ends, whether, like, most of them were actually through to the, like, stated endpoints. Character endings within games and the game endings don't necessarily align well. So my first Larp, I should have stopped playing at the end of game 5, and I didn't, because the game kept going, but like that was very definitively the end of her storyline, but she kind of just like trickled on with the rest of what happened for the next 2 events. I was very fortunate that my storyline did align, its ending aligned with the ending of this game, but I'm not, that could very easily have not been the case. So satisfaction with things being dependent on complete storylines and story arcs for characters, it's always got to be somewhat hit and miss, regardless of how things are written.
I mean, I think Math's story basically ended at the end of game 2, right?
Yeah.
For an example, and there's others who did that. Josh?
What are my thoughts on this? I've only ever had one other ending in a Larp. I chose to kill off a character to spur on a storyline. They died violently, and I got to go to their funeral, and that was this lovely experience of people talking about the end and the memories they had, and it was really heavy, and I cried a lot, and that was fucking awesome. But then I came into this game where we were all playing with the end. It's not just one person's story that's ending, but everyone's, no matter what, at the end of the thing. And it was beautiful, the approach of everyone's. So many of the plans I heard going into this were how I want to die, what I want to do to have my impact on the world. The biggest thing I could do to go out the hardest. And then I went to the game, and a lot of those things didn't happen. And some people went big and hard, but other people just played the game and went along with what was happening. And it was still the same impact of having a big impact on the world, being a part of a story, getting to sit with the end of it. We all lost magic and witnesses for the last day, and people still played the game and talked out their endings and my what next, and I'm going to go on a holiday, let's go on a trip around the world, I'm putting my sword down, I'm changing jobs, I'm going to keep existing as I was because what I am is enough. All these beautiful little threads of story that got to have their flow on, people get to plan in their heads what their character would do next, think about what's next, but we all get to sit with the knowledge that the world is irreversibly changed and these stories get to live on anyways. It's this, the end is there for everyone, we all get to sit with it equally. And I think that's really fucking cool.
I also thought it was interesting how many people I'd heard saying they were going to get their character killed, who by Sunday afternoon were no, I want to live. I want to live. Yeah, right? Naimh was I'm done. I'm over. I'm going to, give my life to a couple of dumb peasants from Valord. And then, had more to live for at the end of the game than she'd had since the end of game 1. And it was amazing. But, yeah, and then there's other games where, I don't know, Watches, we had 12 events, and the last one was the end. And it didn't feel anywhere near as emotional as this one. And I'm maybe that's because it was a more episodic game. It was much less emotional as a game. Do you think that the need for an ending was tied to how emotional the game was?
Maybe. Also, after listening to what Josh said, I agree with Josh, not what I said earlier about endings. As a player, Dance 3, can we just call it The Last Dance to give it a title?
Yeah,
if it has a title.
I've been calling it that the whole time. The Last Dance.
Cool. Sorry. The Last Dance and very expensive things, which was Dance 5 of Zeppelin. Game 5 of Zeppelin. For me, it was not a dance. These are the two most impactful games I've ever played. I'm not using the word best because they were very different and I can't compare them to each other, but they are the most impactful games I've ever played. Were they both very emotional games? Yes, in entirely different ways. And this is where my story ended for Erd, and that's where my story should have ended for Red.
Yeah.
I think possibly the amount of emotion... Red should have ended there.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of emotion is tied to how much you need the end.
It ties up, I think, possibly how much an ending, a deep ending is available, possibly. Because if it's an episodic thing without a lot of depth, it's possible that a deep ending just won't be available.
really interesting chatter going on in the chat.
There is.
How about bad
That-
endings, right? And like the team preparing for an ending where we didn't close the gate, and this being the bad end, and like player agency. And
For half the game, I was consistently like convinced that we weren't going to not close the gate; we were going to utterly rip it open. I had a lot of 50% of my character was torn towards that being the ending that we were approaching.
It was quite a lot of Hathwood on that card.
What's bad isn't.
Yeah, we've all have we all talked about endings?
Yeah, but also what's bad in story and what's bad for the story and what's bad for a player and what's bad for a character. These are all different things.
Yeah, I mean, I think to move on to talking about artistic stuff, if I can steal your spotlight for a hot second, Josie, because I have an idea.
Oh.
It's not theft.
Okay?
I hand
Great.
it to you.
That it is the bad ending from the point of view of the artistic conversation between the team as artists and the players as audience. That it's the bad end because it means the point of the game is ending, right? The team is no longer running Dance of Ribbons. It's not happening. There's so much going on, and they've decided that this is where it ends. Good for them, right? And then the bad ending is us, the players, not accepting that, right? If we'd chosen to keep the gate open, right, chosen to try and keep magic in the world, expand the magic to the world on the meta level, on the sort of level of the artistic statement, that's a bad ending because that's us not accepting the team's resignation. They want to end the game. They are ending the game, and we have to be okay with that because.
Yeah.
Jess? Yeah,
I think I fundamentally disagree with players being framed as an audience. But keep going. Apart from that,
I use it obviously players are also contributors to the Larp as an event. I use it specifically here because I'm talking about the ending and the metaphorical layers that I was drawing out of the ending. That
sure.
The way it ended and the thing that this is the ending of the world, and it is also the ending of the game, and the way the ending of the game was about the ending of it all. The game ending.
Yeah.
I've said ending too many goddamn times. That,
Take a shot.
to me, having looked at the last ritual, felt like an artistic statement by the team to the players, in the sense that they were doing an art and we were an audience to that art for that bit. Right, I'm not saying that we are just an audience. I don't mean to imply that. We are obviously involved in the creation too.
Yeah, and I think that's a very strong point. I would also argue that in a game where one ending has the players having a giant polycule wedding of 30 people and a little memorial and a dance in the rain, and one ending has them being ripped apart by demons, that one of those is the good one and one of those is the bad one. And most people would say the same.
Out of character, I agree with you. In character, at many points, I wouldn't.
I tell you what, Naimh would have been pissed if she'd given up her power and then we'd wedge the gates open. Anyway, Lex, Josh, thoughts?
Yeah, ending is. I mean, as someone who's been part of the ritual for the entire 3 games and of constructing it, it was definitely going into this one being okay, so we're now playing with on a player level, we know we're dealing with an end game here. On a character level, we're going to continue on no matter what, but this feels like a big kind of conclusion. And it was going in being okay, so it was almost to jump back to character arcs for a second. It was almost okay, how do we wrap up the story we've been trying to tell here and the story that our characters are trying to tell? Where can we leave this arc where it feels the place to cement this and to lock where we want to leave this play experience? And it was like, okay, how can we, like, building this ritual, how can we try and provide that for as many people as possible? How can we, like, give that agency of choice to as many people as possible? How can we give those moments to as many people as possible? In terms of, like, constructing a thing that about 6 or 7 people contribute to that then everybody dances about in and changes in the middle of, because things happen and it's a lot of people trying to do a lot of things with very little instruction. It's fun. I think is what I'm trying to get at here. It's a fun thing to play with and to think about and to consider what potentials could have come of it.
Josh?
I wouldn't change the ending of this game for the world, and I'm just saying that as like a start of an impact statement. There's a lot of presumption on the framing of how the other ending could have gone. There are still ways for all of us opening the gate and choosing to embrace the magic of change, because there is still change there, that could have been similar framing.
Beautiful.
There were ways it could have been sold and changed and sat differently. It is the more destructive end, but it's still an end. Bad ending being the more people die part of it, possibly. Sure. But in the end, we're all putting the game down. Do I have a point? I swear. I had that part structured in my head, and then I've got others sitting there.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point.
I don't know.
How you've got the same thing changes it from a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like perspective and things like that give context and meaning and all things.
And the way I said it, I admit, was excessively reductive. Which I think is a good point to make.
Yeah.
I think, to just add like one final moment onto like the potentials of what could have been in terms of like not necessarily labels of good and bad, but the moment where we tried to give the she the option to come through, give them the option to live as mortals, and then the witnesses all at one point yelled, "No, she." What was it? Like,
No, she
no,
can't.
she answers.
No, she answers.
Or no, she can't.
Yeah. No, the one you said.
Either way. And it's like, okay, this feels like something that has a statement here. This feels like something that we know she come. Thank you. And it was like that moment of, okay, this is something that could have changed here. We had an option to like have something out and then have something go in to create a balance, and we're just sort of closing it with a mischaracter, like not a like that, a change in balance, a change in the world, a change in everything to disrupt like the pattern. It was, I don't know. It felt like there was things that could have changed and like influenced different things within that ending, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
For what it's worth,
Josh?
I didn't see this.
Hugh then,
but
Josh.
I'm sure Josh has a really good long thing. I want to give them the space. But for what it's worth, I was told that the she were actually already out and around. That like Josiah was in his e01 Maneth kit, and like David was in his KU kit, kicking around and actually doing stuff. Josh.
I was about to make the same point.
Alright.
Math was walking around pointing at people. Is that KU? Is that Ire? Is that Ire? The she were already kind of there. And the no she come is like such a funny statement, because yes, of course they don't come through the gate. We were told in the previous ritual much earlier in the week that the she sit on both sides at all times. Our gods are already here. We're not really leaving them behind. They're not changing or making a statement. They're just sitting next to us. They weren't the point, we were the point. But they're still here. It's kind of how that sits with me.
Strong point. Anyway, I didn't notice.
So
I was
I
too
found
busy
out on
crying my guts out.
That
I only
too.
found out
Just
on
sobbing.
Tuesday that was an e01 Maneth kit. I thought Josiah just like look and fly. I was like, oh, maybe things mean things. Maybe the guy wandering about with like the moons and stuff was actually, maybe that was significant.
Oh, who knew?
Again, you've got to beat me over the head with a theme.
Subtext.
Big hammer just doing.
Just text. I was going to say,
Context.
because we were discussing LARP as art, and the thing that is funny about this is at the first PAX or the second PAX, Rob Anderson Hunt pitched to us a panel at one of the first PAX Melbourne or second PAX Melbourne, one of those two, that was like, hey, let's do a panel about LARP as an art form. And I think about a dozen people turned up to the panel, but we did get free entry to PAX, so it was worth it. But like, the idea that at that point, way back when, and then the point of Zeppelin games was to try and prove that LARP could be an art form. And I remember that people used to argue about whether video games could be art, and then the argument about LARP could be art. But the argument about video games, whether or not it could be art, and then a couple of games came out and just proved that it could be, or that comics came out and like, oh, is a comics art? And then you read Watchmen, and you're like, oh, I see. Well, that's not an argument. Or Mouse. And so I wanted to talk about LARP as an art form versus LARP as just a little escapist adventure, or LARP as a sport, or LARP as a hobby, and how those things differ, and am I just drawing lines that don't matter? But actually, just before that, I really want to pick up on this thing that's going on in chat with the good ending versus the bad ending, where if we're all authors, isn't that extremely character dependent?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like every character either got their good ending or their bad ending on a personal and individual level.
For sure.
Or got a meh ending if they had intentions and didn't meet them.
Yeah, right? Or
Yeah.
like everyone got a different ending.
Rather admittedly, some people's bad endings is a good ending for everyone else.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
For sure. And like,
Love you guys that play with that, because that's really fun conflict.
So good.
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's possible, but like, because we are players are all authors of character stories in this shared world that we're building, and also that like players are in conversation with the team on a level above that, and a good ending or bad ending in the narrative for the character matter for players. Good ending, bad ending for the game, for the thing itself, for a Dance of Ribbons, matter for us players, and as in conversation with the GM, I'm flagging slightly and rambling. Please, let's keep going.
Amazing.
Real.
Yes, I agree with what Taryn has posted in chat. Like, it feels like Dance of Ribbons is the ultimate, like, it's the mouse or the Watchman in the comics argument. It's the, like, depression quest in the video game argument, right? It's like, it's yes.
Yeah, right? You're
LARP
just like,
is
oh,
art.
there's
LARP
no
can
more
be
argument.
art.
It's done.
There's no more argument,
Yeah.
right? This is...
You cannot
first one was
experience
art.
this game and then go,
Yeah,
oh.
like, that's what pulled me in. I didn't go to the first one. I wasn't sure about it. I hadn't read enough about it. And then Jess and Lisa and Gareth came back and were like, hey, so we've been asking the question, and it turns out there's an answer, and the answer is yes. And Black Powder has answered it. Not Black Powder. Black Powder was asking the question. And
Which question were we
Dunmoore has
asking?
answered it.
I would,
The
no,
question,
I would,
can LARP be art?
yeah, I would argue
No,
Black
no, no,
Powder
no.
had already answered it. But Zeppelin answered it for me.
I also agree, but like, I distinctly remember you being like, no, absolutely settled argument. Dance of Ribbons exists, LARP can be art. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I got to go to this.
Hey, you've got your timelines there wrong a little bit by like a decade. Yep.
Probably.
That was the question that Zeppelin was asking. The first Zeppelin, can Larp be art? That was the question. The question Black Powder was asking was a different question.
Go on.
I may be misremembering
Can
the
you?
conversation. I do that.
Sorry, I think that Black Powder has been a game that has been deeply misinterpreted by quite a lot of people because you're cowards and use quite a lot of subtext.
We're cowards.
No, it was just a joke about the subtext is for cowards thing. That,
I mean,
I
know
think a
writers
lot
use
of Black
subtext and
Powder's
they're all
themes were quite subtextual. And I would be interested in. Oh God, is LARP necessarily art? Can you make LARP that is
Doesn't have
not?
to.
And I would, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Any Friday night, I can show you.
Back to the nature of art in and of itself. Like,
Oh, that's true.
sorry to jump in.
Strong point.
No.
It's
No,
yeah.
please jump in.
It just brings that. Then we just come into the question of what is art and how is art and who has the capacity to say what is and is not art or is not good art. I think it's completely subtextual. Like to some people, a hack and slash can be the most beautiful thing in the world, and to some that's absolutely not the game they want to play. And for some people, it's like this beautiful multi-layered narrative kind of like honey cake of a thing that is a beautiful piece of art, and to other people they're like, that's horrifically overcomplicated, why would I ever do something like that? It's all contextual and individual, and I don't know, it just comes back to the question of the banana taped to the wall. Is it art or is it no?
And the answer for hack and slash LARPs is like yes, because martial arts are arts, and even how much we want to forget that. So I take it back.
Fencing's an art.
Could be art, and I'm too much of a science student to be able to answer that question with grace.
Beautiful, beautiful weapons.
But I will just jump on the actual kind of like question of like Dance of Ribbons in terms of my personal context of art. I am and always have been a story person. Like words are my thing, as probably most of you know from seeing me yelling on stage. Thanks for putting up with that. But for this, I literally I create, like, not just in the terms of the story I created, but physically I wrote volumes and volumes and volumes of stories. I collected like pieces of the puzzle from every dance that I went to, and like I'm in the middle of binding that into a physical, like rewriting it and binding it into a physical copy of a book. Like it is being made into another form of art by not just me, but by many other people as well. If it's not art, then it is at least impactful enough to create art.
I have 2 points on that, but that was beautiful. The first one
It looks
is
really fucking cool.
that when I went to text Lex about this, our last Discord conversation that you and I had just had was me going, oh, I won't be playing an Oathkeeper, but like I know I'm going to do this sort of thing. And you going, I'm going to write this book about the... And I'm like,
that's from
now
day one.
hearing this, I'm like, holy shit. They're actually doing it. That's amazing. And the second one was, like,
It's still ongoing.
look at this thing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I wrote a poem for this as well.
this is
Just on that, Lenny played the day games and then dragged people in to make this.
That's
And
me.
then,
Yeah.
like this is the big weekend LARP. And as someone who is new to things, seeing such a small part of this world that we'd all been sitting in for 2 years and going, this is fucking awesome, and choosing to try and like wrangle together a big piece of community art. Even small parts of this are impactful to people to do big things, which is fucking insane.
it
Breaking
is
my heart over here. Oh my god, I will never forget about that moment. I'm so sorry. Adam in the chat was just like, I think I still have the Oathstone you gave Gaspar in the e01, Lex. Yes, and I still have the trinket that gave us that moment. I will never, ever, ever forget that.
yeah. I mean, I think
I started.
Yeah, you go.
Wow, that's huge. So just Larp is very inspiring, and we take up a lot of new skills because of it. Like without Larp, I wouldn't have leatherwork, I wouldn't have spinning, I wouldn't have weaving, I wouldn't have knitting, I wouldn't have crochet. But that's like follow-ons from like, oh, you can make thread, and now you have all of the thread crafts.
You can make thread,
anyway,
and
like,
now you're the best spinner in Victoria. Like
underestimating Josie. They said it was the rest of Australia.
the best spinner in Australia. Literally, from the Spinners and Weavers Guild.
6 of 8 categories.
The Jess just won. Like
Sorry.
best spinner.
I got best in show for the spinning competition of Australia. Yep. So it's not just Karen saying that, but also like only a little bit of bragging. Sorry.
You get to brag about that. It was huge. You do. You're allowed.
But as a hobby, you picked up for a laugh as well.
Incontrovertible fact.
As a hobby, you picked up for a LARP.
Yeah.
I learned to make T-shirts.
Very.
Now I'm very bad at it. It's great.
Went into the first game and came out as a more powerful version of yourself. But like, yeah, you had the like power up character arc, but it was literally you, the person.
I want to talk about
Yeah, that
but
definitely happens.
that's coming in a little bit. Where, or we could just do it now actually because it's better. So let's do a bit of a conversation. I was having coffee with Chelsea yesterday. Day before, I don't know, because I hadn't stopped crying and I wanted to talk to my Kelda about it. And she's like, it was her first leadership role of any kind, and she was saying how she'd never felt like she could do a leadership role, like she could be the kind of person who would put her hand up for leadership, and then LARP taught her that she could, and not only that, it taught her that she could do a good job. And so I think, you know, we've got the hobbies where Bronte's become the jeweler and Jess has become the world's best spider or whatever. And we know costumers or crafters of various kinds. But let's talk about personality. Let's talk about how have you as a human being, or your friends, or people you know, changed and grown because of LARP?
In LARP in general, or Dance of Ribbons in particular?
LARP in general. You can focus on. I mean, our audience is all dance people, but like, I feel like LARP in general is a fine answer.
I mean, broadly, like, I had a similar thing to Chelsea, like, 5, 6 years ago. 7, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, some amount of time. I don't want to think about it. I feel old.
Years aren't real.
Where I ended up, again, in a leadership position of Warbandit Swordcraft. And I was suddenly like, oh, people are listening to me. Okay, people, like, want me to do this leadership thing. All right, let's give it a shot. And I did an okay job of it.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't do the best job, and I felt better when I handed it off. But like, the stuff that taught me has been a thing I've carried through forever. That, like, LARP is a really good thing for learning skills, and it's a really, really, really good thing for learning people skills. Because you get to practice in a way that, like, you don't often. Right. You know? There's a reason that, like, a bunch of, like, corporate skill building stuff is based around roleplay. Because the only way to get people skills is practice, and the only way you can practice people skills in an environment where you're not going to seriously actually affect people's real lives is roleplay. Do it for pretend. It's just that we're much better at it and more invested in it than any, like, HR person.
Yeah. Anybody
Who
else?
else?
Yeah, Josh. Josh.
The safety net of a social contract of a LARP where all of your action of use your character to an extent. Dan Torres has been incredible for this, where there is such a delineation between the person and the character that you get to meet people and get to know them after the fact. But the safety net of the social contract really let me practice my social skills, because I have like insane social anxiety. The fact that I can't see all the faces of chat right now is helping me actually say words. But I got to practice saying things and saying deep and interesting things that are heavy, and being heard and that being interesting. And then I got to meet these people as people, not just characters, in social settings, and keep conversations going of similar depth and interest in storytelling. And it's kind of here's a whole community of people I feel safe around to practice doing the deeper parts of who I want to be and who I am. So I got to break out of a lot of social anxiety and or like fear of like depth of storytelling, and now I've got some projects and irons in the fire where I'm practicing that and impacting that into the world, and it's really exciting. And I don't think I would have done this if I didn't get to feel safe to practice these things.
Yeah. For me, I've always found myself I'm an extrovert. I'm loud. I talk to a lot of people. I make friends pretty quickly and am very open about a lot of things, but I've never been able to see kind of why, if that makes sense. And it's the thing of playing a character that is kind of made of what my core motivation, or helped me realize kind of what my core motivation is, of like, I went into this LARP being like, I'll just write down stories. That's cool. Yeah. That's what I like doing. Great, wonderful. Coming out of it being like, like every single story that people tell every single story that people live is worth telling. And the reason people kind of want me to be in that position of leadership is because I'm good at helping them to see it, I guess. And like being able to have that community that is a place that is like so unconditionally like ready to see things that you don't see about yourself and try to highlight them to you is really cool. And like I think I'm incredibly lucky with dance to have the community that I have had for my first LARP, and for this community to have formed my experience of LARP and roleplay in general. And just, thanks to all of you folk. You're really cool, and you helped me find some confidence and be able to get on a stage and improv yell at you all. Thanks for following some steps that I yelled at you. Teehee. I hope it was fun.
How good is yelling?
Listen, the 6 years of cadets finally came in useful. I got to project in accent and yell at people for child military is useful, people. Don't clip that.
Oh, we're clipping that. The official stance. You've heard it here first, folks.
Kelda of Kilkern comes out pro-child soldiers.
Soldiers are good for something.
Where do you work again, Lex? No, sorry. Jess, would you like to talk about real-life character arcs?
Not anywhere important. Actually, if you get me out of my job, that'd be great.
Honestly, I found them to go the other way. I've had character arcs in real life and then gotten to play with them more in game. I actually haven't had that many instances of character arcs in game out. Like getting to take something that's an aspect of my life and play it harder or deeper or with less restraint. Like that's definitely something I've been able to do with LARP, but I haven't been in a position where it's shifted back the other way. I've certainly learnt a lot of skills and things, but like not like I learned leadership outside of LARP and then I got to play with that in LARP. I get to say all the things that, no, not all of them, but like getting to follow a death god for game 2 and just being very like, yeah, we're all gonna die. I don't get to do that at work, right?
No.
Even
No,
though it's
you
equally
really
true.
don't.
Can't say that. Say that.
No.
Equally true. But I get to play with that in Larp. So like,
Yeah.
I think I've had the opposite experience.
It's one of the things that people don't want their
And I'm
nurses to
open
do
to
in general. People try and avoid medical professionals telling them that it's okay because everyone dies. Sorry.
say that.
Yeah. Good work. I just... Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to jump on a really interesting point from the chat, if that's
Please
okay.
do.
I think it's Dan just said, it feels like it's good to have a safe space to play out the consequences of bad decisions. Exactly that. It's being able to play with themes and with like bits and pieces of stuff you would never do as a real life person. It's being able to explore hitting up against boundaries and seeing what you do if you hit your head against it hard enough to crack the stone. It's a place to fuck with things, and it's just fuck around and find out, but in a contained little bubble where it's not going to impact your real life massively, except for probably in a good way by the connections you get out of it.
Yeah.
I'll clip that too.
like,
We'll put that over the other one. That
in
was
terms
much
of like
nicer.
consequences for bad decisions, that's
Yeah.
that's something I am still in conversation with Fionn about in my head, right? Him being like, yeah, all right, both of us have like families, right?
Yeah.
I have a fiance and children, and he, by dint of the fact that my fiance and children came to the game and were playing my fiance
So
and
did
children,
he.
he also has them.
Yeah.
And him just being like, no, I'm going to go in and do this, like, I'm going to go in and die for someone else who is not my family, and in that moment not think about, like, impacts, leaving family behind, making, like, half orphans of children, just because it's the right thing to do. Right?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't think I would do that. But, like, having done that as someone else, I get to have, like, should I? Is that a thing I, Hugh, should do? Shouldn't I? If not, why? If so? And, like, I wouldn't be thinking about this shit if it hadn't happened already.
That's gorgeous. That's genuinely beautiful. Dude, okay. We are running out of time. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of quick circle things. And we're going to open up to chat for questions. So if you have a question in chat, feel free to put it in there. If you have a question for the panel of, I don't know, some randos that we pulled together, who I think are cool. But the first question is, future learnings for your play. What is a way or a thing you learned about playing a role-playing game that you learned from this episode of The Dance that you would like to take forward? And Hugh's going to start us. Thank you for being brave.
I finally figured out how to make plot happen instead of reactively trying to solve it. That was my problem with Dance 2. That was why I had a mixed experience, is that I've always been the kind of person who's like, all right, great. Hello, Francois.
Hello, Francois.
I've always been the kind of person that's like, all right, a game is a puzzle to solve, and like I am going to collect the pieces, I'm going to figure out the problem, right? And the more interesting games have a variety of problems that are being solved, and sometimes they pull in opposite directions. But Dance 3, I was finally like, no, I am going to make situations happen for people and like with people and push them to do things. Particularly on the Sunday when I was playing the fucking Bren the Goat Herd. Right? Yeah. I didn't have any goals. I had nothing left. I was just like, all right, I have a day and a half to go up to other people and try to get them to feel more interesting.
Amazing. Josh.
What was the question again? Just
one thing that you learned from the final dance that you will take forward into future role-playing play?
Cool. Yeah, that was what I thought I had. It's kind of a lesson taught to me. I built some cool props and then had no reason to use them, and someone else grabbed me and said, "Hey, we're using them for this." And it is just that, and it kind of gave me a game for the rest of the weekend. Shout out Mark, fucking cool of you, deeply love it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of this lesson of, if someone makes something cool or does something that isn't being used yet or shown yet, putting that person in front of everyone might just change their weekend.
Yeah.
So you
Amazing.
can just kind of give gifts of thing to other people, of seeing, oh, you've done this thing, that's really sick, no one's seen that yet, hey guys, look how fucking cool that is, everyone should go look at it real quick, and then that's
watch
kind
it
of
go,
the weekend
right?
for them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Lex?
Set people up and push them into the world so they can have something.
Oh, perfect. Lex?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of cheating a little bit by jumping off these two, but also drawing on something from Dance 1 and not just Dance 3. It's the concept of generous play. It's the acknowledgement that if you are looking out for others and if you are trying to give as much as you can to everyone else, someone is going to come and give that to you. Someone is going to find that story hook that is going to pull you in, and you are going to have the story hook that pulls someone else in, and it's just a giant caterpillar train of collaboration and storytelling, and not like it's all just like if Larp is just a big setup of dominoes, and something like the countdown at the beginning is the first flick, then every single action that every single character takes is another domino that falls. And when everything falls into one final big pattern, some of them are not going to get touched, and some of it's going to be a bit messy. But in the end, you're going to have that like big, outlaid, gorgeous pattern that every single person has put so much effort into constructing.
Amazing. Jess, and then we're going to get to all these chat questions that Taryn's telling me to get to.
Yeah.
One thing that you're going to take forward, future play.
Not cutting myself completely off from the meta narrative. In other games, I've been burnt deeply by having anything to do with what I knew out of character versus what I knew in character. So I have, for the last decade, shied away from that aspect of play like completely.
Yeah.
So when on Saturday you were running around giving people moral questions, I spent the next 24 hours refusing to engage with that. And then I said, okay, well, that's clearly the answer. Can you just let it be the answer in character as well as being the answer out of character?
Yeah.
And it was fine. So that doesn't have to be a completely poisoned interaction. So I think I would be more open to that in the future.
To playing the meta narrative. Yeah.
Or
Awesome.
allowing myself to be open rather than completely shutting it out.
Amazingly, Taryn's like, oh my god, there's this great question in the chat that you should ask next. It's way better than your question. And I'm like, my next question was in fact this question, and it's in the Discord. You can look it up. It goes like this. Thank you, Art3 Mystica. What do you hope that future LARPs learn and take forward from Dance of Ribbons? Which is, in fact, way better phrased than the way I had it phrased. But because I phrased it as learnings for future LARP runnings, but this is better. So what do you hope that future LARPs learn and take forward from Dance of Ribbons? I'm going to go first, and mine is that they front everything they do. Two things. One is that they front everything they do and all of their communications with how they want people to play, rather than just their rules or whatever. And the second thing is that if you build the best, like you should put much more effort into building community than you do. Those are my two. Who wants to go next? Josh.
Dance really explicitly told everyone the themes to expect.
Yes.
They really talked about the what was going to happen. Not the why or the how, but the what. So you got to go into... It felt, especially Game 2 and Game 3, that you kind of knew what to expect. And it was still often surprising and really good. And even if there was a lack of a surprise, because that theme's sitting there, it was still played with interestingly, and you still got to sit with a bunch of your friends and new people and fuck around with it and do cool things.
Yeah.
A lot of other games seem to shy away from letting you know because they're worried about the surprise or the impact.
And you're like, no, you can know everything and still, yeah. Hugh.
Yeah, building on that, treating players as co-collaborators. That, like, it is not sort of the trad GM type thing of, like, the GM setting up situations for players to solve or presenting them with challenges to overcome, which relies on a lot of back-end secrecy, GM stuff, but, like, actively, really, really actively involving the players in co-collaboration and, like, giving away a lot of the GM power. Like, deliberately, as a team, the impression I got, I don't know, maybe they were sipping wine and being, like, mastermind villains.
Just say from appearances.
But, like, the way I perceived it is that the team was, like, really humbling themselves from what a typical sort of game-running GM, like trad GM style would involve. And they were being very humble and open and accepting. And that produces so much better outcomes. Right? That produces everyone's more invested, everyone's more involved. Everyone does better and produces better things when they're treated as mature and equal participants.
I think it produces a different set of things. But I do think it was amazing. Like, I loved it. I don't think it's necessary. Anyway. Good point, Hugh.
I enjoy
Better for
it
Hughes. Awesome.
Yes.
Who's next? Go, Lex.
Okay. Jess, you had your mouth open. Go.
No, that was me going. I need to think of something to say.
Okay. I think for me it's and again, limited LARP experience, but trust your players and follow the stories that they want to tell. It's having faith in the fact that you can put a set of scenarios into the world and know that the players will interact with it in their own way and create their own stories out of it, but that the GMs will still be able to make the narrative work as it needs to. It doesn't all have to be completely by the book. It can be improv, it can be messy. Trust your players and follow the stories that they want to tell. I'll just say that. What I thought of it again, because I worded it well and I didn't need to extrapolate.
That was excellent. I'm going to extrapolate for you. I will point out that before the first game, I emailed them and was like, I know you've just released your character creation things, but can I play Baba Yaga? And they were like, oh, we have an NPC for that? But sure, we'll just not run that NPC and we'll just give you the job. And out of that came the best LARP character I've ever had. For me. Because they were willing to trust their player, right? And like, I'm sorry if it hurt anyone else. But I think it was pretty good. Jess, what do you hope that people running LARPs learn from this game? Sorry.
I feel like that's too wishy-washy a statement because a bunch of us LARP runners to what we take from this to do.
What are you going to do in every game you run from now on? What are you going to do because of this?
I reserve the right to change my opinion based on what I learned from future games that I run, Josie. I'm not just going to take one and stop. Like a greater focus on, I know this has already been said, but a greater focus on collaboration with various elements of the construction of the world and no, that wasn't what I was going to say. Greater focus on collaboration of building of community and the expectations and like mapping those expectations of what the game is intending to provide with what the community is expecting and the like reciprocal creation. It's not just going one way, it's not just going the other way, like reciprocal creation.
Absolutely. That's awesome. What do you have
have
against the Welsh? No, sorry, Josh.
That was
Me?
me replying to Bronte. I apologize.
Sorry, Josh. Go.
Bronte hated me. Anyway, Josh.
Not Bob, which I'm pretty sure is oh,
that's Will.
fucking god, names have lost me. Yeah, it's Will. It's pointing out this is a cool band shirt. I'd like to very briefly shout out Enzo. It's the band Geneva's in. They're fucking sick. They're really cool. They're playing a queer charity show soon, and you should check their social media to catch them next.
Definitely. Gareth would like to know who was your favorite NPC. I would like one-word answers. Just tell me the name. Short answer. Very short. Tell us the name of your favorite NPC from all dancers.
Is that 3?
No,
1, 2, 3?
One favorite NPC.
Oh.
Across all the dancers.
All of them?
All of them.
Zion the Cave Keeper.
That's one. Good job, Lex.
Shout out Sally.
Court Leeward.
I'm gonna give him the answer he wants. Math.
Like,
I'm not giving it to him because it's the answer it wants.
Yes,
but
you
he wants
are.
it, but it is the answer it wants. I'm not.
Sorry, let me restate. Who was your favorite NPC and why was it math? No, we're not doing that. Okay.
I've only got 12 minutes.
Anyone got another one? Very quickly.
I have split equals. It has to be Delphina and Sheriff Peter. Delphina because holy shit, and Peter because touchstone character every dance. The first two.
Absolutely. So good. Jess?
there, I do need to say math.
Just because you're... Okay, fine. How about... Scrolling down. More questions. Looking for more questions. Those are all the questions. Fabulous. Everyone's just answering the questions, which is awesome. We love you all. Okay. Thank you all so much for putting your time into coming to this funky little panel that we made and putting up with my terrible tech problems. And playing games with me. That was fun.
Games are good. Friends are good. Community is good. This is real cool.
Anyway, yeah. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Our intention is that Immersive Arts Melbourne will be running one of these roughly every fortnight, round about this time every Thursday with a different panel and things. Next Thursday is going to be the Garmontian version of this panel. On 2 weeks from now.
The next one.
Yep. I really want to say thank you to August and Taryn for moderating the chat and for doing a bunch of extra work behind the scenes. And sick, excellent team. Do you want to come on the Garmont one, Will? Everyone watch the chat. Anyway, we'll work it out. Community picnic coming up. Let's go to that.
Hell yes.
Otherwise...
Yeah, you can tell me how wrong I am about things in person.
Yeah, it'll be sick. Thanks, team. Love you all.
Guys. Love you. This is really cool. Can't wait to tell more stories with all of you. Yay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. And sleep well.
Good shit.
Because it's late.
Tell us when we're not recording, please.